To Back and Forth Sports, ladies and gentlemen. This is C, the producer, along with Michael Bragg and Tommy Simmons.
What's going on?
Tommy with us? Tommy?
What's going on?
Tommy?
What's going on, fellas?
Oh, okay. Well, there's a lot going on. First, I wanted to start with a poll question. I wanted to ask our viewing public, and you guys too, what do you follow in sports? And it doesn't have to be sports. It could be a team, a league, maybe a player, because, you have some of those guys, they don't follow a team. They just follow LeBron around wherever they go. That's why they got Cavs and Heat hats in their house. Or maybe you, like me, when I watch hockey, I watch the Caps. I don't really watch anyone else unless there's an interesting storyline or something to go along with it, or a Game 7. But once the Caps are out, I stop watching the NHL altogether, pretty much. Unlike, say, NFL, where even when my teams are out, I'm still watching the playoffs and the Super Bowl. And that also encompasses professional wrestling, and whether you follow a promotion or anything you can, or non-physical sports like ESports, or maybe you follow, I don't know, professional chess, if that's a thing. Or maybe you're a curling fan. Or maybe you just follow high school football. But yeah, let us know in the comments below what you follow. Guys, what are like three things, probably the three things you follow most?
Well, you're definitely missing out if you're not watching playoff hockey. Even if the Panthers did some of the most exciting things in sports. So for me, it's probably basketball and football, both college and pro, are 1-2, with hockey and baseball tied for 3.
Tommy?
The Wizards just put up 40 points in the first quarter, by the way.
Good grief. Who are they playing tonight?
Yeah, basketball's number 1. They're playing Milwaukee. It's 40-22 at the end of the first.
Good grief.
I follow all the major sports. I like all of my local teams here in the D.C. area, so Redskins, Wizards, Capitals. I like that baseball team local. Nationals is my number 2 team. My number 1 team is the White Sox. Grew up watching them on WGN with my uncle, who got me into liking them. Hockey, I'm not so much into until the playoffs. Same for college basketball. I pretty much get into that during tournament time. Unless Maryland's doing good, so pretty much not so much in the last 15, 16 years. But I pretty much follow all the major sports year-round, with the exception of hockey. Like I said, I get into that towards the playoffs.
Do you consider MLS a major sport? It has major in the title.
No, I do not.
Okay.
I claim the Philadelphia Union is one of my squads, but I couldn't tell you what they've done this year.
Right.
Yeah, DC United all the way, baby.
Oh yeah.
Exactly. Can't name one player, but I'm also I also get pretty big into boxing for the big fights.
Yeah.
Not so much wrestling anymore. I was like, at one point, professional wrestling was like my number 1 quote unquote sport when I was a kid. But those were the glory days, and it's straight trash now. But yeah, kind of the same with boxing too. Over a lot of first takes, I think it's pretty cool. One of my favorite parts about the show is talk a lot about boxing, especially with Max Kelvin, and Stephen A. is a huge fan. Which is kind of cool because you don't hear much boxing talk out there these days. So it kind of helps to stay up to date following them. boxing is all about storylines for me. I think it's not like it was when I was a kid, because you had Lennox Lewis and Evander Holyfield and Mike Tyson and George Foreman coming back at the age of 45, winning the heavyweight title, and there were just so many storylines and so many good, heavyweight boxers, and of course even your lower weights too, like Sugar Ray and Julio Cesar Chavez and all those guys, Marvelous Marvin Hagler. But today, there's storylines here and there, like Mayweather and anybody Mayweather's fighting, but Mayweather and Pacquiao and all those different Conor McGregor type deals. But it's not like it was when I was a kid. I used to be really into it, and now I just kind of look for good storylines.
Right. All right. Let's get into. Oh, go ahead.
They actually had Deontay Wilder on First Take today, one of the better heavyweights, especially from the U.S. right now. I think he's got a fight Saturday night, but he's a pretty big 6'7", massive guy with some brutal haymakers.
Yeah.
39-0 with 38 knockouts.
It's crazy that the heavyweight division has kind of faded away. Like, that used to be the division. Now it's like...
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Like, you probably can't get the average person to give you the name of a current boxer in the heavyweight division right now. I mean, I know, Mike, you know one because he's from your area. Samuels Peters.
I mean, you can name like 5. I don't know who's active anymore. You can name like 5 or 7. Back in the 90s.
Oh yeah.
Exactly.
Probably even more than that. We could probably name 90s boxers, heavyweight boxers. Might be able to get to 20. Like get David Tua, like you said, Lennox Lewis, Mike Tyson, Evander Holyfield, George Foreman,
Frank Bruno.
Yeah.
Francois, both. Let's not forget Peter McNeely, Ruiz, James Toney.
Who was the guy who cried? Who was the one who? I think he was fighting Lennox Lewis, and he just started crying in the ring. Yeah, I can't remember his name either.
The Wizards almost had 3 guys in double figures in the first quarter.
Good grief! And you know what's it's a shame is they play. I believe they play the Warriors tomorrow, and they're going to be tired from this game. They're not going to probably be able to put up that kind of effort. Yeah, man. Back-to-back games.
It looks like Scott Brooks is giving minutes to all kinds of people tonight, so maybe he's preparing. I mean, you already got Jody Meeks, Kelly Oubre Jr., Jan Mahimi, Mike Scott, and Tim Frazier were all off the bench in the first quarter. In addition to the starters, Morris, Porter, Satoransky, Beal, and Gortat. He's already 10 deep first quarter. Yeah, he knows what's coming.
Yeah. So hopefully, because it's one of the few regular season games I'm looking forward to seeing is the Wizards Warriors tomorrow. And
that should be interesting.
Yeah, and I'm not a huge NBA person anymore because the seasons have been so predictable until this year, which kind of surprised me because the East is pretty wide open, and I mean even the West has 3 teams that have a chance, and an injury here or there, and it could open up even more if like KD or Steph go down, or Harden go down.
That would be terrible. Hopefully Harden.
Yeah, it would be terrible.
Chris Paul and Capella all stay healthy. Well, Capella, he's already banged up. Yeah. That's going to be a huge problem for Houston. I think if they definitely need Paul and Harden good to go in the playoffs, they might be able to find a way without Capella, but it's definitely better with him out there. Yeah, I don't know what they've been doing lately, but I think Capella is day to day, and Eric Gordon has missed like last 3 or 4 games. He's got like some mystery illness that nobody's talking about. They won't say what it is, but he's missed 3 or 4 games, and I think Capella was questionable still.
Well, you got to figure if you play the Warriors, someone on your team's going to get hurt when they get too close to Zaza.
True story.
But so what did we want to talk about first, guys? Second, yes. Well, since we're on the subject of the NBA and we hit up on the Wizards, let's talk about the pressure on John Wall to come back from injury and keep up this 80-some% win percentage the Wizards have right now. Like, is there actual pressure on him, or is it if they can't keep it up? Huh?
Yeah, if he comes back and things start looking different and the success isn't there and you don't do much in the playoffs, I don't know how they don't try to make a change or look to move somebody this offseason.
Well, I mean, I'm sure that move would be Wall, and you gotta imagine you can get a lot for John Wall in a trade.
Well, it depends. If other teams know that you're desperate to move them,
Well,
that could limit some things, but you definitely should get quality back, definitely.
even if you're desperate to get rid of him, you're gonna have more than one team going for him, and it'll become an auction of what do you got for me anyway. So
yeah, and I don't know. Let me just open up this medicine bottle. I want each of you to take a pill real quick. It's called a chill pill. John Wall has absolutely nothing to worry about. He's making $40 million this year because of the Supermax extension. He's locked in. He wants to be here. If there are teammates like Marcin Gortat, who's like 80 years old, who want to complain that John Wall isn't a good player and isn't a good team player, who's second in the league in assists and gives him layups every game with his passing, then we can say goodbye to them. But John Wall is a great player. He's one of the best point guards in the league. He's the best player we've had here in a long time. Well, since Michael Jordan. But John Wall comes back. I mean, who cares if they're playing well? Let's see it over 30 or 40 games before we start saying, let's trade this perennial all-star who's one of the quickest players in the league and our team leader, and just chill out a little while.
well, I mean, he's not coming back.
They say one more year.
He still has how many more weeks to go before he's supposed to come back?
Well, the diagnosis was 6 to 8, and I saw a report yesterday that he's on schedule. He's still hoping to be back in 6 to 8 weeks. We're about 3 weeks in right now, and a week and a half of that they weren't even playing because of the All-Star break. So
Right.
there's no sample size to start talking that they're a much better team without John Wall. I mean, they're playing good right now.
Playing extremely well.
A lot of new additions. It's a new system. They're coming around at the time that I expected them to. Like mid-season, everybody's starting to hit their gears now. So they're doing what's expected of them.
Well, they still got a lot to prove. I mean, Wall's been there a while, and even Scott Brooks has had a lot of success. Well, he's had a lot of talent that he's had to work with over the years, and has a history of underperforming, not getting his job done. So the pressure, not only on Wall when he gets back, but I think Brooks is also under some pressure. If not this year, definitely next year.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. We don't have Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, and James Harden. Let's not equate the current situation to that. But I do think there is pressure. But like I said, they're doing what they're supposed to do. They're in contention in the East. They're in the top half of the East. They're fluctuating. They can go up as high as 2 probably, or they could fall down to the 7th seed. Any of that could happen.
But I mean, like you said, we're only 3 weeks into the Wall injury. The Wizards have about an 80-90% win streak, or win percentage. If after 6 to 8 weeks, and they still have that 80 to 90 win percentage, and then Wall comes back and that win percentage drops back down to like 60 for the rest of the season, and then they get bounced in the playoffs in round 1, like, do you have to take a look at whether Wall, even though he's a great player, is bad for team chemistry on that team at least?
The question is Gortat speaking for himself, or is he representative of a large portion of that locker room?
It's a good question. I mean, and we do have a previous 2 previous instances where he was unhappy with his team. He didn't like coming off the bench behind Dwight Howard, and then when he left Phoenix, he left there with some bad blood too. So it's not like he's like this perfect model citizen who's always the calm child in the room. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, this all came from a tweet where he said, "Good team all capitalized, win tonight." So there might have been a little bit too much more read into that.
Well, look, I mean, if John Wall comes back and they're still winning 85% of their games, then if I'm Scott Brooks, I just bring him off the bench and I say, we're playing good, we're not going to rush him back, and then you just blame it on tendonitis or whatever, and you just say we're going to ease him back in. There's no reason, if he comes back and they're still lighting the league up, that you just throw him in there at 36 minutes a night as a starter. So you do have that luxury.
Yeah.
If we get to that point and they're still playing like this.
True. Yeah, by the time he comes back, they could go on a downturn, and they're like, we need Wall to get back into the game.
Absolutely. And they need John Wall. You're going to go into the playoffs, and you're going to say, I want Thomas Satoransky out there over John Wall. I mean, Bradley Beal, you'd expect him to be scoring like 35 points a game in his absence, but he's not. There's games where he's like 11 of 28 from the field, and somehow they squeak by because they're getting contributions from everybody. It's not like Bradley Beal has developed into this takeover the game star in the absence of John Wall. I think they need him out there.
Well, here's the thing.
Yeah, I think that's another one of the reasons the pressure's on Brooks too, because whenever you got a talent like Wall, I mean, you've got to find a way to get it to work. So if he comes back and he can't find a way or get them all on the same page to maximize the talent he's got, then that's more bad news for Brooks.
Yeah. Well, also, the pressure on Brooks is, it's like, hey, Brooks, you have 3 max deal players on the team. Why aren't we winning more? I mean, I don't agree with giving Otto Porter a max deal. I'm still questioning that. But, they're still going to bring that up.
Yeah, I questioned it when it happened. When that contract happened, I questioned it, but I'm on board now, man. He's a great player. He's shooting like I think for the season, he's like 54% as a wing player, field goal percentage. He shoots threes. He's long arm, plays good defense. He's going to be guarding Durant tomorrow night. There's a lot to be said for what he brings to the team. I mean, he's not just chucking up shots like a lot of these max players do. He scores efficiently. He's dual threat as far as driving and shooting threes. High percentage shooter. And I'm trying to think, I don't think there's a better defender on the team than him, and that's a guy that you need, especially come playoff time.
True.
I think he's worth it.
Well, that's even more pressure on Brooks, because you can say, "Oh, Porter was worth that money we spent. Why aren't we winning?" But here's the thing. Back to I can't say his name. Satoransky versus Wall. It's possible that Wall doesn't have that ability to, when he's not shooting well and Beal's not shooting well, to distribute the ball to the other players who can make up for the Wizard big three not pulling their fair share according to their contracts, at least.
That's a good point. I think if I love John Wall, but if I have any criticism of him, it's like, how are you in the league for 6 years and you haven't developed a jump shot? You know, why are you still 1 for 11 from 3-point range in a game that you lose by 4 points? You know, like, I look at box scores and I'm like, why is he chucking up threes and we lose by 4 points? That's on John Wall. You know,
Yeah.
He doesn't need to be a 19 or 20 point per game scorer. I don't think he should be, unless he develops that jump shot, which he should have by now.
Yeah.
I don't think he should be a volume scorer. I don't think that's him. I think it looks good on his stats, you know, like 19 points and 9 assists and 1.6 steals or whatever, but that's my only criticism of him is, why hasn't he developed that jump shot? And since he hasn't, why does he look to score so much? You know, like Satoransky's putting up numbers like, they're not spectacular. They're Lonzo Ball numbers. You know, 7 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists, 1 turnover, and 50% from the field. You know.
Mm-hmm.
If John Wall played like that, yeah.
At some point, I mean, you kind of are what you are. I mean, maybe he's not going to be a great shooter, but, you know, he can run the offense. He can find the open guy. He can play defense. He's, you know, one of the fastest guys out there. At some point, you are what you are. I mean, you continue to work on it, but you may never be a great shooter, but that doesn't mean you can't be a great player at what he does well, which he clearly is.
Absolutely. I mean, I don't know, just take, Jason Kidd, you know, not a good shooter. One of the best distributors that we've seen since John Stockton, probably, you know.
Right.
But if you left him open, he developed that corner 3 shot. So if he developed something that makes you play him honest, you know. At least he was shooting 39% from 3-point range, you know. Like, if he would just get that and kind of like stick to his role, he could be nasty like Jason Kidd was. I mean, well, we haven't seen it yet.
Yeah. Well, he might. The reason he shoots up, tries to be a volume shooter is, there's pressure on these players to put up certain kind of stats, and I think people ignore misses and praise buckets. You know what I mean? So you could go out there and be like Kobe's last game and put up a ridiculous amount of shots, have a terrible shooting percentage, but he still gets like 50 or 60 points. And like, oh wow, what a great way to go out.
That's kind of what I'm saying with Otto Porter, because he's not shooting the ball 26 times to get his 15 or 17 or 19 points. He's shooting 54% from the field. He's drawing fouls, and he can hit open threes. You know.
Right.
He's like the number 3 scorer on the team, but he's probably the most efficient scorer on the team.
Yeah. So maybe what John Wall needs is just someone to mentor him a little bit, like a Jason Kidd.
You guys, as Wizard fans, believe that you guys have enough hope for him offensively as possible. Maybe, if Beal isn't having a great night, maybe he feels like there's not enough people that can score around him. Then maybe he feels the pressure that if Beal doesn't have it going, then he's got to have it going because maybe you guys can't get enough points. If maybe great point. Some of the pressure.
That's a great point, and the answer is probably no. That's a really good point. I mean, who do they really have? I mean, Jody Meeks. Like, I think it's a really good point. He probably does feel that he has to shoot the ball a lot some nights.
Well, maybe this if the Wizards continue to do this, he can look at what Satoransky's doing, like see that Satoransky doesn't have to carry the team, that he has people around him, at least a starting lineup, that can pull their weight. They're not a bunch of bums. It's not like LeBron when he first made the finals with nobody around him,
Yeah.
He actually has a team around him, and maybe he needs to study Satoransky's game, add what he does to what Satoransky's doing, and trust his teammates.
Yeah, I think maybe it's possible that the once again it can come back to Brooks. Maybe he's changing the offense how he wants the offense run.
Yeah.
Satoransky's in as opposed to with Walls in.
So maybe Brooks.
Yeah, I mean.
If that's the situation, maybe Brooks just needs to run the same game plan when Wall comes back.
Exactly.
All right, we need to get to the big story of the week, which is the FBI's investigation into the NCAA. They've already taken away a bunch of wins from Louisville and their championship from a few years ago. They're on Arizona's case now, and there's a list of 20 teams implicated in some sort of violation, which could lead to we're not sure yet who could get punished this year or next year or in 2 years. But if they can, it'd be very interesting to see what happens if, with the NCAA tournament, if teams get hit with sanctions and not able to play in postseason before the tournament comes up in March.
Well, the March Madness tournament is the cash cow, so I would not be surprised if they drag their feet like you would believe, even if they have something that they can move on quickly. Try to let as many people, teams as possible, take part in the whole March Madness, because that thing pulls in more money maybe than anything else the NCAA has.
Probably.
On the annual basis. So I wouldn't be surprised if you don't see anything heavy come down before that happens.
But does the NCAA want these teams to go on and win a championship just so that they get it pulled from them next year and a year after that?
As long as the money hits the bank from the tournament, I think the NCAA would probably see it's not our problem, it's the school's problem. As long as they keep making dollars on the players' backs.
Perhaps. I mean, if they do that, I think they need to make some sort of rule change, some sort of adjustment to what they're doing before they dole out these punishments coming up that may come. I mean, I don't want to
Let me,
guilty before.
let me just drop the truth on you guys. And I think you guys know where I'm going with this. I think everybody knows what the truth is. The truth is they're all cheating. And the only question is which ones are going to get caught.
Right.
Which ones are going to get caught?
And I think
we've heard stories since the 70s. Mike, your boy Charles Barkley, I recently read he was getting all kinds of stuff. They're all cheating, and they all have been cheating. You think like these top guys who could play 1 year and go to the NBA aren't getting offers from people and aren't taking those offers? I really think, I really think, because we're talking about $1 billion industry here. These schools, they need to just pay
multi-billions.
We're talking about $1 billion industry. It's a commodity. Top athletes are a commodity, a money-making commodity. And I really, truly believe that this has been going on for decades. I think players have been getting, I think they've been getting cash. They've been getting all kinds of stuff. When this first came out a couple weeks ago, I went back and watched the movie Blue Chips.
Mm-hmm.
I think that is exactly what is going on and has been going on for years. And I think the only question is, which ones do they have evidence on?
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. And Chris and I were talking about this earlier about, I brought up the point that, you always hit the NCAA, bring up all these investigations, and they hammer the universities with what they call lack of institutional control. It seems to me the FBI should be more after, should be able to somehow hammer the NCAA on lack of institutional control. Because the fact that they got to come in and track all this stuff down, which is stuff that the NCAA is supposed to be having, regulating or supposed to be enforcing these rules and trying to make sure that some of this stuff isn't going on. The fact that the FBI has to do something is clear indication that the NCAA has no control and that nobody has any respect for their rules, and kids are getting paid, families are cashing checks.
I mean, you've already said it a few minutes ago. It's all about that money. As long as that check gets cashed. I mean, you can't have members of the 1920s mafia in New York being judged by other mafia members in a court of law. I mean, I think they just need to pay these guys, and do away with the system.
I think what they need to do is next time the collective bargaining agreement comes around in the NBA, I think they need to change the rule and allow kids that come in straight from high school. And I think it should allow kids to get higher agents in college so they can get paid at least through being able to do things. And that way you could even do the video games again, allow them to get paid for their likeness and stuff like that. And if I think what they should do is they should allow the kids to hire agents to try to see if they can get drafted right out of high school, and the ones that can let them go on. The ones that can't, I think they should just allow them to come back in and sign or be able to go to school, play for a school somewhere. So I think what they should do is they should make it for those that actually decide to go to college mandatory that they go to at least 2 years. Give them the opportunity first to see if they get into the NBA, get information, feedback about whether or not they'd be drafted, and if they decide to go to college, that they should stay for 2 years at least. And that would help out some of the one and done garbage.
I mean, the amount of money that these basketball players are making for these universities. I mean, if you're Marvin Bagley or Michael Porter or DeAndre Ayton, isn't your service, what you're providing to that school, isn't that worth 75 G's a year or 100 G's a year, or in some cases $250,000 a year? I mean, literally, it's got to be, and I think these kids, I mean, if they're getting you know, like Ricky Rowe in Blue Chips, you know, I'm looking for 30,000. I'd like it in cash. My dad needs a tractor. I mean, if they're getting offers like that, of course they're going to take them, and of course they're going to go to Kentucky or Arizona. I'm not
Implicating.
necessarily saying that these schools are guilty, but I'm pretty sure they are. I mean, the services that they provide are worth an extravagant amount of dough. I think we need to pay.
Well, I think the issue when you come to paying, I mean, it takes an unbelievable group of players or people somehow come up with a plan of how to pay. Who do you pay? Like, do you pay the lacrosse team? Do you pay the women's basketball team? Like, even with football, they say there's so many. There's actually a very small number of universities that are actually making money from their football programs, and it's usually the top, whatever it is, third of the college league. And the other thing you got to remember is a lot of the money that comes in from either the basketball or the football programs that rake it in, a lot of that money goes to fund the other programs, the other athletic programs within the school. So if you start taking that money away, then you got to consider what's going to get canceled, what can't afford to keep on. It would take, I don't know how, if they could find a way to do that, in a way where they wouldn't have to kill a bunch of other programs, and that would be good. But seems like a tall task.
Well,
to keep track of a lot of that.
yeah. Well, like Tom was saying, all these teams are cheating, but I mean, the two leagues that are cheating are the men's football and basketball teams. Well, I don't think there's women's football, but like the men's.
Something's going on in UConn women.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if like Tennessee and Connecticut weren't guilty of this either. But I think we're mainly talking about NCAA football and men's basketball. But like NCAA football, there's like 120, maybe 130 teams in the top tier. I mean, the top league. Are they all? They're not all cheating. Do you think? And NCAA is like 300, 400 teams. I mean, like, do you think any Northeast Conference teams are paying players?
I'll tell you what I think. I don't think all the teams are cheating. You know, we're going to give your mom $20,000 in cash in a box, and we'll leave it in the alley. But I know when I was at Maryland, I had classes with Steve Francis and a lot of the other guys, and I didn't even know Steve Francis was in my class until the final exam. I went an entire semester, and we all knew who Steve Francis was ever since we were at Cole Fieldhouse for Midnight Madness when we first got there. But I had no idea he was in my class, and then here's the final exam, and Steve Francis walks in and sits down for the test, and he's the first one finished. Like, literally, he sat down for 20 minutes.
Maryland, is it possible that the Maryland men's basketball practice was always the same time as the class?
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure that was the reason. I mean, my point is, it's not just cash. It's who knows what else, you know? Yeah. I had classes with Lamont Jordan. He ended up being a second-round pick of the Jets, running back at Maryland. He was in a class of mine. And I remember going to the professor's office to look at our test scores on the wall outside her office. And they were listed by Social Security number, and he was in line right in front of me, and he walks up, and I saw his finger go down the list and find his Social Security number, and he moved his finger over, and the grade was a 46. And I didn't even know he was in the class until we took that midterm. You know, he's not showing up in class. He's getting a 46% on his midterm. But yet he's eligible to play college football and get drafted and make millions of dollars, you know.
Right.
I mean, something's going on on whatever level you want to call it, whether it's cash or whether it's grades or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, you hear about stuff like that, like fake classes, fake classes that really don't exist. people getting graded for. There's definitely
I mean,
a lot of funny business going on.
I mean, the idea of scholarships is you're getting paid, but it's through your education. And obviously, from the stories you're telling them, they're not really getting that education anyway. You had a second point and slipped my head.
I'm sure there are a lot of student athletes out there that are doing things the right way, and they're serious about getting their education. But then you have the ones that care less. But yeah, I mean, it's a shame for the ones that aren't taking advantage of at least that opportunity to get that education, because I mean that is, some schools get $60,000, $75,000 a year in tuition, so there's a huge benefit to getting that education, especially if you have no chance of going to the professional level. It's a shame. It's more on the players themselves if they don't take advantage of at least getting that education before you get out of there.
Right.
Absolutely.
Well, maybe. Well, Mike, you brought up the NBA bringing changes the next player bargaining agreement. Do you think maybe if the NBA and the NFL changed the way they ran their league, maybe ran it more like baseball had some like minor league systems, that could change some stuff?
That could be impossible for football. I don't know if I ever see that happen. I mean, you're gonna have small stuff, but baseball's got it's perfect. Baseball and hockey really have great systems where somebody could go, you can make decent money, spend years in development. Basketball, I think basketball could do a better job, but I do think that a lot of the NBA is like, why should we spend resources on this when we have the NCAA and kids that are already on a national spotlight playing huge games, and plus you got great coaches.
Plus you got overseas as well.
Right.
You got overseas.
Well, I mean, not to pitch my NBA going the way of English Premier League and having 4 tiers of leagues with no salary cap. Well, I'm just saying. I mentioned this before. How do we know professional teams aren't pulling something or in leagues where there's salary caps? Like, how do we know that they're not saying, hey, so-and-so, here's the contract, but we're going to funnel money through a fake sponsor or whatever, or through something else, and get you another $10 million a year?
Well, we don't know.
But that
being the speculative conspiracy theorist that I am, I think that's probably happened in one way or the other at least once in the history of the league. You have to think that something like that goes on. I mean, money is corrupt. Money is corrupt. It always has been, and I just gotta believe that things like that probably do happen on some level.
Right.
Well, you could start with Pat Riley. How he got Chris Bosh and LeBron and D Wade to play for $16 million a year each.
Yeah.
Whatever it was.
Come here for less, but we're gonna give you some more on the back end.
But of course, D Wade was a little upset when he felt that they were going to make it up to him down the road, and so he ended up in Chicago. So maybe that could be a sign that something like that didn't happen in that situation. But
maybe he got more money. Well, I mean, I know some teams can set you up with a what's the word, sponsorship deal with this or help you, set you up with that. which is perfectly legal.
Well, sponsor,
Hmm.
yeah. Well, sponsorships that's stuff illegal.
Oh yeah,
You can do. They can do.
So
But I guess you never really know
I mean,
what's going on.
I like the salary cap. I mean, I think the NFL, even if people are doing that, there's enough diversity or parity in that league where I can't tell, and so I don't really think about it. But I mean, you got the NBA. It's, I mean, other than this year, it's been pretty predictable. It's been all these, but all this talent is going to the same teams, and there should be a salary cap. It doesn't.
Well, it's not a hard cap. They can go over. You can pay the luxury tax and all that.
Yeah, that's weak.
Like Cleveland's going to be. I think like Cleveland's going to be paying like $100 million in luxury taxes this year.
Right.
Yeah, Cleveland's at least before the trade, they were at 58 million, negative 58 million luxury tax.
So technically, yeah, that's what you can go over. So the owner doesn't have a problem paying.
So it's like baseball.
In luxury.
So you're saying it's like baseball? They have the luxury tax as well.
No, baseball has no salary cap, and they have revenue sharing, which sends money to the teams that don't get as much revenue. You know, like the Kansas City Royals or the
Right. But
Minnesota Twins.
let me look
They
this
don't
up.
have a salary cap.
MLB. I'm gonna have to look that up.
That's what the 94 strike was about. The owners,
Yeah.
they wanted to have a salary cap, and the players' union said, "Well, you know, we'll cancel the World Series right now because we're not agreeing to it," and they did. You know, they ended up canceling that season,
Yeah.
and that was over the salary cap.
Yeah, but Major League Baseball still has the luxury tax. Like if you spend over a certain amount, you have to pay the luxury tax.
Right. I don't think it's a min either on in baseball. If there's in basketball, I think you can. I mean, just ask the Marlins. You got like a $12 million payroll right now, or whatever it is. In baseball or in basketball, at least you have to spend up to a certain amount. I still think it should be an investigation in baseball. Ridiculous with Derek Jeter going down to the Marlins and trading their best player to New York, and 2 weeks later he's on the media talking about, "Oh yeah, I'm still a big Yankees fan. I'll still be a big fan." What's up, man? You know, they're killing all the everything great they had in Florida, the team races, and the Marlins man got fired or whatever. If I were them, I don't know how anybody shows up opening day for the Marlins this year. They should just boycott that one.
Yeah, that's a mess for the whole league. Yankees are starting to look like they did back in the '90s when they were buying titles.
Yeah, the Orioles need to man up. You gotta get your boys ready.
The Orioles just need pitching, and then they need their batters to come through in the playoffs. But I mean,
Machado probably would be the Yankees.
I'm hearing more. He'll probably go to Cleveland. But I mean, that's so far away. I mean, you get the right injury at the right time, and that could shake everything up. Now, shoot, Machado could go down this year with the season-ending injury. He wouldn't get traded this. Who's gonna trade for him then?
Well, hopefully he stays in Baltimore. You guys can get some more talent. My Phillies are supposed to fight for a wild card this year. See what happens there.
Yeah, definitely say with the two wild card spots for both leagues, that made baseball a lot more interesting, and less teams are out of it as early.
Yeah, well, my White Sox are off to a great start. They just lost one of their top prospects, third baseman Jake Berger, to a torn Achilles tendon. He's out for the year. My sympathies go out to the Berger family.
Yeah, it's never.
So you're saying Berger's Achilles is hamburger?
Yep.
Too
Right.
soon.
All right, we got 10 minutes left in this show. Let's move on to some final thoughts and thoughts about some other smaller stuff. The Olympics just ended. Any thoughts on what you saw this last week or 2 weeks?
Well, I didn't get to see the closing ceremonies. Did you happen to see that?
I didn't see the closing ceremonies either. I didn't see the opening or closing. The only thing I heard was some stuff about North Korea's cheerleaders and Kim Jong-un's sister, which is...
Oh, it was so funny. There's a video. I don't know if you've ever seen this guy, but there's this guy. I think he's British. He's this Asian dude. He looks just like Kim Jong-un. So what he does is he goes around and he's got the haircut and everything, and he goes through like the streets of New York, and he's got like a North Korean soldier, some guy dressed up as a North Korean soldier who's like his bodyguard, and they do these prank videos where like people come up to him and take selfies with him. They really think it's him, Well, this guy showed up at the hockey game in
oh my God.
Pyeongchang, and he was like right in front of the cheering section of the North Korean women, and he was like, cheering along with them and everything, and you just see like these two North Korean soldiers come up and like escort him into a different section of the arena. We're gonna check it out. Hilarious.
Where he was executed.
No, he was in South Korea. He was safe.
I've been heard from.
I thought it was interesting that we had the whole Russian doping scandal coming in to the Olympics, and the bronze medalist mixed doubles curling team got busted for drugs and had to forfeit their bronze medal.
Of all the sports.
Unbelievable.
But I mean, there is some physicality in curling. I mean, John Schuster is the captain of the gold medal winning U.S. team, which, by the way, it's crazy how big curling got over these last 2 weeks. In that championship game, there were tons of people going to like 2 a.m. curling watching parties. But like he had, like, after the last Olympics, not Pyeongchang, the one before, the U.S. decided to change how they were doing things, and so they got who they thought were the 10 best curlers, and Schuster went on that list, even though he was like the captain the last Olympics and was on the bronze medal winning team the Olympics before that. So he realized, oh crap, I can't just do curling. I gotta like put some effort in this. He lost like 20-30 pounds, got in good shape, at least good shape for curling, and then found the 4 other guys who got rejected, and they're all in shape now, and ended up in a spot where they had to win like 3 games in a row just to get to the tournament part, and then they went through the tournament and won gold. But I mean, that was a great story, I thought, in the Olympics, even though I wasn't a huge Schuster fan going into this, because every Olympics, it's like you hear all this great stuff about them, and then it was terrible the previous Olympics. But what I'd like to see... Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I guess the biggest the biggest stories of the Olympics for the U.S. was Shaun White getting back his gold medal.
Yeah.
That was a ridiculous performance. He nailed that last run. And I guess Lindsey Vonn, big disappointment again. Of course, she didn't compete last time because she got injured right before the Olympics. But
Yeah.
that was a big disappointment there too.
Yeah, this was like the first Olympics in like, I think they said like 12 years that she was healthy. But I mean, like,
Yeah.
that was probably her last Olympics. Didn't she get bronze in something, or did?
Yeah, I believe she won a bronze.
Yeah.
I can't remember what.
But I mean, she was expected to get gold, being healthy and everything.
Yeah, I think the thing that surprised me most was the fact that Canada failed to get gold in either men's or women's curling and women's ice hockey. I'm wondering if there's ever been a Winter Olympics where they didn't get gold in one of those categories at least. But that's what, besides the years they swept them all. That's pretty disappointing for Canada, even though overall they did pretty well. Those are basically the two main.
Well, I think it's kind of interesting the way they're doing hockey, because it's like teams aren't sending their best players; they're sending their best players who aren't in the NHL.
Right.
So it's like, yeah, because the NHL didn't want to, I guess. But I don't know, it's kind of weird. Like, if you're gonna, like, I don't know how to gauge that. Like, what's everyone sending? The best B level players in the world? Oh, they're not amateurs though. There's guys who playing from minor league teams, playing in Europe.
Well, minor league teams, yeah, players.
Former NHL players.
Yeah, there were some former NHL players who are playing professionally in the is it the KHL, Mike?
I believe it is.
I think so. I think there's a few different ones. But so yes, maybe it was just the NHL that decided not to participate.
Yeah.
Maybe other pro leagues that decided to participate could send their guys.
Yeah. I believe so.
Yeah, definitely, especially for the U.S. men's hockey team. It's like, who are these guys?
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think the U.S. sent more college guys. Because I think they actually, I heard them talk about a player who went from a college game and then flew over to South Korea to play, and then as soon as they were eliminated, he flew back to play another college game. This is, but I mean, like, oh, it seems to me if you're not gonna do NHL guys, then go the way they do soccer in the Olympics, where it's like under 23, but you can throw in like a couple of guys at any age. I'm like, give me, I don't know, something about just not NHL guys seems off. I don't know, maybe it's me.
You can't really control that, but the Olympics can't. But I believe I heard already that the NHL said they're not going to be participating in 2022 either. So you got that.
Yeah. I mean, it was a good I think that's a good opportunity for some of those players to kind of show what they got playing against the other best B-level players from around the world. I'm sure there were plenty of scouts there watching and taking notes.
So is it true that there was an Olympic athlete from Russia, female, that was wearing a shirt that said, I don't do doping? That got busted for doping?
I didn't hear that, but that's possible.
I heard there was an athlete Yeah, she was wearing a shirt that said, "I don't do the doping" or something like that, and then she got busted. She failed the doping test.
Wow.
Ridiculous.
Yeah. But that's kind of. I think if those couple of players didn't get busted there at the end of the Olympics like that, they would have been able to. They would have allowed those Olympic athletes of Russia to march under the Russian flag at the closing ceremonies. But I think when those players got caught, the Olympic Committee was like, "No,
Yeah.
you blew it for everyone else." But all right, let's do closing thoughts here. Mine, I'd like to see one person curling the next Olympics. You throw the stone, you do your own sweeping, you do your own strategy. I mean that, like, there's going to be a lot more physical requirements to be able to do that. And plus, you'll have to know what you're doing. I mean, you can have a coach, but the coach is not even supposed to get involved unless you call your one timeout for 10 ends. But
is that even done anywhere? Or are you trying to invent something new?
I'm sure people do it somewhere. They might not do 10 ends, but I mean, you probably got curling clubs who you don't get a good turnout sometimes, so they're like, let's just go 1-on-1. I mean, 3-on-3 probably was never done professionally until, people realized people were doing it at the parks all the time. So they start doing tournaments, and now I think in the next Summer Olympics, 3-on-3 basketball is going to be a thing.
Yeah, that'll be interesting.
So, I mean, that's what I'd like to see. Mike, closing thoughts?
Yeah, we got the conference tournaments coming up in college basketball. Looking forward to kicking off with the NEC this week.
Yeah, NEC starting a few other. That'd be good. Tommy?
Another couple weeks, I'll be in full baseball mode.
Doing 50 fantasy teams.
Yep.
How many do you do every year for baseball?
Well, last year was kind of crazy because I did 4 Yahoo, and then I think I had 8 ESPN leagues, but it's just too much, man.
So 12.
12.
And I know how you play. You're like on there as soon as you get home from work, like making sure everyone's gonna play, making sure you have all the starting pitchers in.
Yep.
Releasing guys just so you can get different pitchers that are gonna go.
Yeah, last year was my first year playing points leagues in baseball. No, not points leagues. It was a rotisserie league. So if you're like the top team in the ERA, you get 10 points. If you're next to last in runs scored, you would get 2 points,
Right.
And I ended up winning 7 out of the 8 ESPN Roto leagues. But I think I'm just going to do I'll probably do 3 or 4 Yahoo too. Call it steroids.
Tommy, I think we're gonna have to get you on to do a fantasy baseball special. You can go over players to pick up, strategy of how to play certain kind of leagues, etc., etc.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, we'll work on that. Get that set up. We'll work on figuring out what time we're gonna air tomorrow, or not tomorrow, next week, and we'll get that information out to everyone. So to everyone watching, please like this video, or if you hated it, dislike the video. Comment below, tell us what you want to see or see us talk about. Answer the poll question of what you follow. Turn on notifications so you know when we're on. Can you think of anything else?
That'll do it.
All right. Have a great week, everybody. I'm C, the producer. For Tommy Simmons and Michael Bragg, we'll talk next week. Peace out.
See you next week.
What?